Hello and welcome to another episode of 8-Bit Popcorn. We have special guest Conor Driscoll with us today, and we are discussing the best Christmas movies of all time, according to us. Well, Merry Christmas. This is us doing our own little kind of Christmas rendition. How's everybody feeling?
Strangely nervous, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got that Christmas feeling.
Cool. So I kind of thought I'd ask actually firstly, what does Christmas kind of mean to you guys before we get started? Like, I know my example isn't what Christmas means to me because it's a weird one, but is there anything that anybody does during Christmas time that they get excited about or really reminds them of their childhood or something?
I suppose it's all about family for me, really. But like from the movie point of view, like the movies I chose they're all films I saw when I was a child, and I think part of the reason I love them is because I relate back to those memories. So that's sort of how I made my choices.
Yeah, I'd say same. I think when I think of Christmas, I think about family and seeing people and catching up and all of that sort of stuff. And actually, the films that I've picked, I've seen them all quite recently within the last couple of years, apart from Elf, for the first time. So
really,
yeah,
that kind of seems like a staple of Christmas.
No, it does, doesn't it? And I feel like I should have more like from my childhood memories, but I don't know if we were really big movie people at Christmas. If that's really strange because now obviously I work in film, but yeah, so kind of the opposite of Connor. A lot of them are quite recent.
Yeah, for me, I don't know. If you had asked me years ago what Christmas meant to me, I'd be like, oh, family, love, togetherness.
Yeah.
No, I don't know.
No, you're just cynical.
I'm just cynical now. I'm like, commercialism, presents.
It's all a lie.
Cultural appropriation of the pagan tradition of the festival of lights.
Oh, God.
So that's what Christmas means to me. And very festive.
Nice.
Yes, lovely. Well, I was looking for something a wee bit more specific. I have a weird one anyway. So this isn't like huffing paint or glue or something, but like I love come Christmas time. You get those kind of green plastic trees. I love smelling them, right? And there's a reason behind that before you judge. So as a child, we used to have our Christmas tree in the corner of our family home, and all the presents were stacked underneath the tree, and the light switch to turn the tree on was underneath the tree towards the back. So you would have to crawl underneath the tree to get the switch. And then doing so, I could just smell the kind of like plasticiness of the tree and the snow on the tree, if that makes sense, and the wrappers and everything. So now when I smell a plastic Christmas tree, it reminds me of when I had to crawl underneath a Christmas tree, if that makes sense.
That's lovely.
Yes. I've had this
adorable.
It sounds so powerful too, though, isn't it?
Yes.
Back to a moment. I like cinnamon would very much be Christmas for me. So like Even today, my wife brought Christmas potpourri or something into the house, and it's just instantly that smell just takes you back to Christmas.
It does. Okay. Well, for those listening, what we're doing is we've decided to take 16 movies. So we've decided 4 movies each, 4 Christmas movies, or so-called Christmas movies. We're looking at you, Joe, and they're movies that are important to us. So this is kind of the best Christmas movie according to us. All right. And then we've taken these 16 movies and we put it into a tournament style draw. I've entered them online to a random generator, so I don't know which movie is going against which movie. But I can read them out to you now. And in no particular order from top to bottom, we have Christmas Vacation, The Snowman, Scrooged, Edward Scissorhands, The Long Kiss Goodnight, The Santa Claus, Gremlins, Christmas with the Cranks, Nightmare Before Christmas, Home Alone, Deck the Halls, Lord of the Rings, Muppets Christmas Carol, In Bruges, Elf, and The Grinch. So a lot of good movies, a lot of maybe not so great movies. I don't know. I can't wait to have discussions on some of them.
It's definitely a mix. It's a mixed bag.
Definitely a mix. So we'll just do a rating system. So whenever we get to the end of each round, we can just count to 3 and we'll each put up either a 1 or a 2. We'll discuss which one pertains to which movie towards the end of each round, and we'll see which one's elevated. So first off, then the first round, we have Christmas Vacation and The Snowman, a very, very old classic. Now, I'll start with Christmas Vacation because that's my favorite Christmas movie of all time. So you've got Chevy Chase and Juliette Lewis and Beverly D'Angelo playing. It's something I watch every Christmas with my dad. It's tradition. It's tradition. So it gets within a week or two to December 25th, and my dad will just say to me, I think it's getting near the time, and that's it. We both know it's movie night. We're getting the Chinese, and we're sitting down and we're watching this movie. So for those that aren't familiar with the National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, a quick synopsis is that the movie begins with the Griswolds as they prepare for Christmas family celebration. So per the norm in this franchise, things never run smoothly. So Chevy Chase's character, our cousin, Eddie, played by Randy Quaid, arrives and spends Christmas with the Griswolds, living outside on his driveway in a dirty old caravan. And then we got Clark's employer, his boss, who has reneged on Clark's Christmas bonus that year. And so we have a fried pussycat, adultery, and a little light kidnapping, just to name a few things. So I absolutely love this movie. And then we've got The Snowman. And I believe that was your choice, Connor?
That's my choice, yeah. So
Okay.
The Snowman, 1982, animated. I don't know if you'd actually call it a film, because it's quite short. It's
a short film, yeah.
Under 30 minutes. It's a short film, yeah. So it's based on a book by Raymond Briggs and directed by Diane Jackson. And it's an amazing film. Like it's, I suppose technically it's a silent film, really, because there's no voice actors in it. It's all just animation and just the score, which the score is absolutely amazing. Like the amount of different emotions it manages to capture in like 25 minutes are incredible. Like I suppose it's a fairly dark movie in a way. It's a heavy one to start with. I might start crying at any moment, but for me, it's kind of like it's like an allegory for childhood, or kind of like the end of Christmas. You know, when you're a child and you get to that time of your life where Santa isn't coming to you anymore. You know, I think that's the way I see the story. I don't know, is spoiler alert from 1982, is that still a thing? But the end of the film, I think you all know what happened at the end of the film. Really, really sad. For me, yeah, it's kind of like the death of childhood or something. I remember like a few years ago having to tell my eldest daughter, you know, whenever she was going to high school, that Santa doesn't come to you anymore when you go to high school. It only comes to little kids. And like, it's honestly one of the hardest things I've ever had to do in my life. Absolutely heartbreaking. And I thought in that moment, I thought of The Snowman, like, and I was like, this is what The Snowman is all about.
Great. Well, I mean, I just rewatched the Snowman last night for the first time in maybe 20 years, you know, and yes, I understand it's a classic and it has its place in, I wouldn't say cinema necessarily, but, you know, everybody should have at least watched it once. Going up against Christmas Vacation, I don't know. Like, I mean, if it came every Christmas, if you asked somebody random in the street, what would you rather watch every Christmas, Christmas Vacation or The Snowman? I do wonder how that conversation would go. You know, if I went to my 21-year-old brother who's not that young, I highly doubt he's ever even actually sat and watched, you know, the movie. What about you guys, Zara, Joe? Have you any kind of memory of that? Or
I've never seen the Christmas Vacation one. I've seen the Snowman one.
Yes.
Man, honestly, when I was younger, I hated that song in the Snowman one. But you know, I've come to appreciate it, and I really like what you said about it telling so much in 25 minutes. You know, without ever really saying a word. It's just kind of pure emotion.
Yeah,
that's what I really like about animation. And I've never seen the Christmas Vacation like the whole way through. I've seen clips of it and whatnot. So, you know, I'm not going to speak with authority on that one.
I'm the same. I haven't seen the whole of National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. I'm sorry.
These are just going to kill me.
So much.
I had the best quote from the movie pulled out, and it's just worthless now.
Let me help you. I love Christmas Vacation. It's one of my favorite Christmas movies.
Right, yes.
I would agree with you definitely for rewatchability and for getting in the Christmas spirit. If you want to get in the Christmas spirit, The Snowman's definitely not the movie to do it. Well, maybe it is. Like, well, you know, I mean,
the National
Christmas Day.
Yes, Christmas Vacation is rife with classic Christmas songs that everybody knows. It is a movie for me that it does chase the perfect Christmas. It's about a man trying to recapture the love and the Christmas spirit that he had with his family at home and his family home. And of course, everything just kind of falls into crazy disarray. But yeah, I'm disappointed that nobody's taken the time to actually sit and watch that movie. Like,
it's a great movie. Like,
it is a classic movie. It's one of the best.
Great ensemble cast. Like, really work well together. Especially like Chevy Chase and Randy Quaid. Randy Quaid's just the worst possible house guest. Like, and I love all the National Lampoon films, and really anything with Chevy Chase. I think he's always brilliant.
Yes. Well, I'm going to read a quote from this because I sat and I've had to read it out several times to myself because it's not easy to say, and it is a very famous quote from the movie. Then obviously maybe Connor, you might recognize this. So just to draw you a picture, we have Clark is waiting for his Christmas bonus, and he's just gotten his bonus, and he, instead of his 20% that he always gets, he was enrolled in a Jelly of the Month club. So he's very, very angry at his boss. And the quote reads, "If any of you are looking for any last minute gift ideas for me, I have one. I'd like Frank Shirley, my boss, right here tonight. I want him brought here in his from his happy holiday slumber over there in Melody Lane with all the other rich people. And I want him brought right here with a big ribbon on his head. And I want him to look straight him in the eye. And I want to tell him what a cheap, lying, no good, rotten, four-flushing, low-life, snake-licking, dirk-leading, inbred, overstuffed, ignorant, blood-sucking, dog-kissing, brainless, dickless, hopeless, heartless, fat-ass, bug-eyed, stiff-legged, spotty-lipped, worm-headed sack of monkey shit he is." I love that line so much.
I've heard that one before. I've seen that scene.
Yes.
It is a good scene.
That's incredible.
Brilliant, beautifully delivered.
Yeah.
Well, yes,
That's been rehearsed.
I have it right here.
Ad nauseum.
Yes.
No,
so I suppose.
Brilliant. I want to add one more thing. Just saying, as you came armed with quotes, I was just going to say, Joe talked about animation and what he loves, and sort of the powerful thing about animation. The only thing I'd add to that is, like, we all love, Pixar and Disney and all the modern, forms of computer animation and all. Whenever you look at the snowman, the way it's hand drawn, and you can actually see, from scene to scene, you see the pencil sketch sort of dance around and move, and it brings a different element to it. It really brings it to life. And I think
it is a very nice art style, I have to agree.
It's beautifully made. I think that's something that's missing from modern animation. I miss that hand drawn.
Yeah, like I've watched it last night, and I don't see myself maybe watching it for another 10, 15, 20 years. Like I don't feel like I need to go back to it. It's not a tradition. It doesn't scream Christmas to me. But I suppose if everyone's ready, we could vote and then see where we go. So yes, Christmas Vacation versus The Snowman. So Christmas Vacation will have one finger. The Snowman will use two fingers. Okay, so the count of three, everyone just put their hands up, and we'll see where we go. So are we ready? So 1, 2, 3. Oh, that was surprising. I was very surprised. I actually thought everyone was going to vote against me there. So Christmas Vacation won that one.
I voted against my own movie because
I was surprised.
Purely for rewatchability and for Christmas spirit. I think Snowman definitely deserves to be on the list, and I wanted to give it an airing. But I think really and truly, I would choose Christmas Vacation.
Well, that's fair enough. Well, I was surprised at you, Zara, to be totally honest, having not even seen the movie.
You know what sold it to me, Ryan? It was your passion, and it was such a continuing part of your Christmas, and the quote. I mean, there was no going against that quote. And also, the snowman is
such a populist, Zara.
The snowman is lovely, but it's so sad. And when I think of Christmas, I don't think of that kind of feeling. I think of the joy and all of that kind of stuff. So yeah, I think just that kind of swung it for me.
Very fair.
It'll be interesting then when we come to the Gremlins, because you wouldn't normally put horror or gore with Christmas either, but yeah. Okay, so the next up, what we have on the list is Scrooged with Bill Murray, and we have Edward Scissorhands. Now, whose selection were they?
Scrooged is another one of mine.
Yeah, Edward Scissorhands is mine. All
right, so who wants to take it away first? Connor, do you want to go with
first, Joe?
I'll go for
Joe,
it.
Yeah.
So Edward Scissorhands is a movie from Tim Burton and the now very problematic Johnny Depp,
Yes.
That tells the tale of this guy who was created by a scientist and who wasn't finished, and he was left with scissors for hands. It's in the title. So
very self-explanatory. Okay, and Connor, what about then Scrooged?
So Scrooged, it's a 1988 film starring Bill Murray, and so it's the classic tale, the Dickens tale of Ebenezer Scrooge, but set in the modern day. And Scrooge is a sort of ruthless, heartless TV executive, and it does quite a lot of like new things with the classic Dickens tale that we're all so familiar with. But the things I love about it is Bill Murray's performance is fantastic. In fact, there's several actors in it. So Bill Murray's in it, Karen Allen's in it as his love interest. And like the relationship between the two is brilliant and really believable. The comedian Bobcat Goldthwait is in it, who you might know as Animal from Police Academy. I think he's brilliant in it as well. Love him in everything he does. He's actually a brilliant director as well. He's made some really good films too. Directed by Richard Donner, who did Superman and The Goonies. Goonies are one of my favourite childhood
Classic
films.
movie, yeah.
He also did another fantastic Christmas action movie, Lethal Weapon. So really, really good director on
I
it
don't
as
actually
well.
think I've ever sat and watched my way through a whole Lethal Weapon movie.
Lethal
Not
Weapon's
that
good,
I wouldn't
yeah.
enjoy
Lethal
it. Not that I wouldn't
Weapon's
enjoy it.
great.
I just don't actually think I've sat and watched through them all.
And
I
a
can see
proper
Sarah looking very
Christmas
shocked.
action movie.
Horrible.
Yes. Is it a Christmas action movie or is it another one like Die Hard? Just
No,
set
it
at
is
Christmas.
set at Christmas, but I mean, it's a Christmas movie. What more do you
Okay.
want?
Well, here's something that'll kind of like sicken your happiness. See right there, you can see my TV's on.
Yeah.
Do you want to know what I was just watching? Scrooge.
You're watching
And how long's
Scrooged,
left on it? About half an hour.
right?
Like, I have seen so many different renditions of A Christmas Carol before, and I did like the way that it was really about. It was an adaptation of A Christmas Carol, and within that, they were creating another movie called Scrooged, and it's about the Christmas Carol. So I did kind of like that. I wasn't sure if it was fourth wall breaking or not, but I did kind of like that self-reference. We have the Muppets Christmas Carol on here, and like they're both essentially the exact same story. And maybe it's just a kid in me, but I was kind of leaning more towards that. And I don't know how many more renditions of A Christmas Carol that we can actually have. Do you know? Because everyone knows how it starts, they know the middle, and they know the end. You know, so we know where the story's going. And I just couldn't, for some reason, like I do love Bill Murray, but for some reason I just couldn't bring myself to kind of finish it. Like there's 20 minutes or so left on the movie, and I thought, yeah, I know how it ends. I'll just sit and get ready. Do you know?
But you missed the song. You missed the song. Can't believe you missed the song.
What's the song?
The song is "Put a Little Love in Your Heart."
Okay.
It's a big sing-along, like a big song and dance number.
Yes. The Muppets has like lots more songs, you know. So
Well, that's true, but the Muppets doesn't have Bill Murray. And
it's got Kermit.
I love the visual effects in Scrooge as well. I think the visual effects are great.
The visual effects were very impressive
for the
at
era,
the time.
you know.
Yes,
yeah,
I have
the
here
puppets.
Written down the quote, "You can barely see the nipples." That just stood out.
That was brilliant. You can barely see the nipples,
yes.
and these guys are really looking. It's a great quote. But no, I love the fact that it's set in the world of TV, and I love the fake trailers that pop up all the time during the movie. Particular favorite is the one with Lee Majors, who was like a big, it's like 70s and 80s TV action star in America.
I did wonder what was going on when I first watched
$6 million
the movie.
Man.
Yes,
and I just think the parody of that was brilliant. I think, what was the name of it? It was The Night the Reindeer Died is the name of the movie. It's a brilliant title too. But no, I just think it's a.
That was probably the most engaging part for me, because I sat there and was like, what the hell's going on here? I had to actually sit and pay attention, thinking, because I can't remember the last time I watched this movie, and there's machine guns, explosions, and Santa's pulling out a machine, and I just thought, what the hell is going on? Do you know? So that was probably the most gripping part for me, just because I was so shocked that this was something that was in a Christmas movie.
I do love a good movie within a movie.
What about Edward Scissorhands? Like, everybody knows Edward Scissorhands. You know, it is a classic. Everybody loves Johnny Depp. I actually don't know if that's true anymore. They loved Johnny Depp, yes.
Yeah, for my selections, as you can see, like I'm not a big Christmas movie person. I more went on the themes of things. What gives me that Christmas sort of feeling? And the big thing about Edward Scissorhands for me is the aesthetic, especially by the end when there's snow everywhere. But it's also the music that really brings me into that. You know, Danny Elfman is great at those sort of mystical kind of scores that he does. And by the end,
Elfman also did a score for Scrooged. Just throwing that in.
Oh, did he? Yeah. Oh, I didn't know that.
There's a lot of crossover between all these films.
Yeah,
with writers, music, directors. A lot of crossover.
Yeah. But it's that scene whenever he's doing the ice sculpture and Winona Ryder comes out and there's just snow falling everywhere. I don't know, it just screams Christmas to me. And then by the end of the movie, you know, it's Edward has brought snow to the town, so you might as well just end it on a fairy tale with, and that's how Christmas started, kids. You know, you could easily just slot that in there.
It's a beautiful film. It is a pure fairy tale, like pure modern day fairy
tale. It's very
tale.
fairy tale-ish.
You gotta love the mind of Tim Burton. It's just so fantastical.
His style is brilliant.
And I kind of wish I could see more of Vincent Van Price just in movies, because I just love the whole character.
I've seen both, and I with Scrooged, I really like. I always love stories that are transposed from sort of Victorian times or Shakespeare times and then brought into modern day. I'm a big fan of that anyway. And then with Edward Scissorhands, do you know, I watched it when I was little, and then I watched it again a couple of years ago, and I really noticed the kind of gossip and the suburban the kind of housewives and on all of that part of it that I hadn't really noticed when I was a kid, and I thought that was so well done. The kind of societal judging that happens if someone's slightly different or odd or has, something that's going on with them. But yeah, they're both really good. Edward Scissorhands again.
Here's a quick question for you: How many renditions do you think there have been of A Christmas Carol since 200 years ago when the initial kind of book was came out by Charles
That'd be
Dickens?
one of the most adapted things ever.
I'm not sure if it was just filmed or whether it's kind of it could be other kind of like theatre productions as well. Maybe not theatre productions because that'd be too many.
Gotta be a dozen.
It'd be more than that. I would say it would be way more than that.
I would say 15, maybe 20.
55.
You're actually looking at about 135.
Yeah.
No.
Exactly. Yes, that story has been told and retold and retold. Not always maybe necessarily a movie form.
I'd say probably not always English language either with that number.
That's also very true. Yeah. Well then, with that in mind, is everybody ready to vote? Yes. Okay. So again, it's Scrooged is one finger and Edward Scissorhands put up 2. So yep.
Christmas movies. We're voting for Christmas movies. Just throwing that out there.
Yeah, I'm voting more for thematic content.
Okay. 1, 2, 3. Oh, sorry, Connor. So Edward Scissorhands is then one against Scrooged. I'm sorry.
I didn't expect that.
Were you surprised?
I was quite surprised. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Edward Scissorhands. I think just it's something that everybody needs to see again at least once. It's like the Snowman. Everybody needs to see it, but it's just better.
I can't say it's objectively better.
I can say subjectively it's better. Okay, then. So then, moving on to the next round, we have The Long Kiss Goodnight, which I've never actually seen. And then we have The Santa Claus. So The Santa Claus was actually my pick. That was another pick of mine. So I guess I'll start with The Santa Claus. You've got Tim Allen, so he's a divorced dad, and he has custody of his son over the Christmas period. And after he accidentally kills Santa Claus, he comes out the front door, screams at the stranger, and he falls off his roof and dies. He puts on his coat and he climbs up the roof, jumps in the sleigh, transported to the North Pole, and then he's told that he has 1 year to get his affairs in order because then he is essentially the new Santa. I love Tim Allen movies. I think he's a great guy. I wish they would just churn them out every Christmas. I think he's fantastic for Christmas. I love the Santa Claus franchise. It's probably also part of the reason why I love Christmas with the Cranks. He just kind of has that humor about him that I really enjoy. And again, you've got Santa's Workshop, you got Santa, you have the elves, you got all the music and the magic and the wonder, and it's something I could watch when I was 10, and it's something I could probably watch when I'm 70. And then just to throw it out there, it had... Actually, no, that was not working in my order. I was going to say it was nominated for 8 awards, but it only won 2, so I'm not sure. But actually, I did note that The Last Kiss was nominated for 3 and won 0, so let's just keep that in mind.
Awards.
Yes. So what about then The Long Kiss Goodnight? What's that about?
So Long Kiss Goodnight is another kind of alternative Christmas movie, but very much Christmas movie and action movie as well. So is it the greatest Christmas action movie? No, it's not. Everybody knows the greatest Christmas action movie is Die Hard, but that's sort of part of the reason why I chose it as well.
Or Lethal Weapon now, apparently.
Lethal Weapon's in there, definitely in there, top 3. But Long Kiss Goodnight is it my favourite? It's probably, I don't know. It's a tough choice. I'd say I watch Die Hard and Long Kiss Goodnight every year, or almost every year.
Sell me on A Long Kiss Goodnight, because I have no clue.
So basically the plot is it stars Gina Davis and Samuel L. Jackson, and so Gina Davis is a lead, so it's a female action star, which is a rare thing, and she's fantastic in it. I think I really have her up there with like Sarah Connor and like Linda Hamilton and like Ellen Ripley in Alien, with the kind of iconic female action stars. So the plot is basically Gina Davis stars as this lady who's lost her memory. So for 8 years, she has no clue who she is. But she's living in this small town, and she's a teacher, basically a primary school teacher. So she gets a knock to the head, and her memory starts to come back. And so she discovers that basically she was a CIA assassin, obviously. And a lot of her old kind of acquaintances are now trying to kill her because she gets spotted on in a parade dressed as Mrs. Claus on a Christmas parade. Samuel L. Jackson comes into the story as a private eye. She is hired to kind of find out who she is, and then sort of big action set pieces ensue. And so, so what I love about it, so it's directed by Rennie Harlin, who is a 90s action movie legend, like directed Die Hard 2, Cliffhanger, written by Shane Black, who created Predator, of course, that universe, but also has done a load of movies set at Christmas. So Christmas movies or setting a movie at Christmas is kind of his signature, if you like. So he wrote Lethal Weapon, Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, Last Boy Scout, Iron Man 3, all set at Christmas. These guys are like 90s action royalty. So it's just like it's a brilliant action movie first and foremost. The action sequences in it are brilliant. It's really, really funny, as you always get from Shane Black script. It's always really, catchy, witty, like surprising moments of comedy in it. And Brian Cox is in it as well. He sort of plays Gina Davis's ex-CIA handler. He's really, really funny in it, delivers some brilliant lines. And I find it really watchable. Like I can watch it again and again, never get bored with it. Samuel L. Jackson actually rates it as his favorite performance, his favorite character he's ever played. So he rates it as well.
Lovely. And what about you guys? Have either of you any kind of particular persuasions on either movie?
I've seen both of them, and just whenever you were talking about The Long Kiss Goodnight there, it was just playing in my head again. I was like, oh yeah, that is a good ass movie. I don't know, in terms of like which like is good for Christmas. I've seen The Santa Claus, and that is a classic Christmas movie for me. I like how Scroogey he is at points in the movies. It's a good sort of transformation. But what's going to be a common theme for me throughout this discussion is I don't like the commercialism of the movie. How all their problems are solved at the end of it by getting presents,
That is what it's not what Christmas is about. Obviously, I was just about to stick my foot in my mouth, but it's kind of one of the early themes of what you're told as a child, isn't it? Like, well, not that presents solve everything, but you do love the idea of waking up on Christmas Day and you come downstairs and it's nice and quiet and you open the door and you have the presents lying underneath a nicely lit Christmas tree. I just like to try and watch movies that just keep reaffirming that kind of childhood nostalgia. I miss that. I'm a person that's very nostalgic, so anything I can do to watch or do that just kind of makes me feel nostalgic towards my childhood, like I will just latch onto.
I do enjoy that elf in it. What's he called, Bernard or something? Yeah, he's pretty badass as well. Like, so.
Yeah, he actually kind of annoyed me, but yes, but I love that movie so much. I will watch it. I didn't like the third movie as much, but I do love the first two particularly.
It's a good movie, and Tim Allen is brilliant, and he's brilliant in Christmas movies.
Yes,
for the most
he's been
part.
In 6 Christmas movies.
We will revisit this later with Christmas with the Cranks.
Yes,
he's really good in Christmas movies. But I don't even think it's my favorite Santa movie, if I'm honest.
Every child loves seeing the North Pole, and I can't get enough. Every time I watch a Christmas movie, be it Fred Claus or the Santa Claus or any kind of Christmas movie where it takes you to the North Pole, I love seeing every movie's own particular rendition of the North Pole, of the elves, of the environment and how it looks and feels. I really love that. For some reason, the Santa Claus's aesthetic has just stuck with me throughout all these years.
I have to say, though, The Long Kiss Goodnight, I remember watching that really vividly a couple of years ago. And my mum recommended it. She was like, this film's coming on, we have to watch it. I was like, okay. And I just was blown away. And the scene on the bridge at the end, that always stuck with me. And when you brought it up, Conor, I did kind of go, remember that? I was a bit like Joe. I was like, remember that film? That was a cracker film. So I'm swaying towards that one just for that reason.
The action set pieces are fantastic. Like as you say, the scene on the bridge at the end is brilliant. There's a scene where they have to shoot the window. They shoot the window and jump through it, and then as they're falling onto the frozen lake, they shoot a hole in the lake and fall through it. It's brilliant, so creative.
Would that work? Would that work?
I've never seen it before. Of course, it would work. I've seen it happen.
Can reindeer fly?
And the relationship between Samuel L. Jackson and Gina Davis is brilliant. Because it's platonic. Like there's never really, they do a bit of like sort of awkward flirting in it, but there's never any real like romance. They're just friends that care about each other, like, and sort of go the extra mile for each other. And say Samuel L. Jackson loved the character himself, but audiences also loved it. So in test screenings in the original version, Samuel L. died. And one of the main screenings, some guy stood up in the audience and said, like, what the fuck are you doing? You can't kill Samuel L. Jackson. And so they brought him back. So they went back and did reshoots and did an add-on scene at the end where he goes on Larry King and gets interviewed by Larry King. So it just shows you the kind of the opinion that the fans of it have.
The power of the public, as we've seen recently more with is it Sonic, where they had
Sonic
a really
yes.
awful version of Sonic and they had to re-render it and reanimated it.
That nightmare version.
Yes, which you do. I do wonder, like, how far should public opinion really kind of persuade, or should it make you go back into the editing suite and fix things that are already really been finalized?
Kind of glad they did. It actually turned out to be a decent family movie, Sonic.
Okay, I never actually watched it.
No, it is, yeah.
All right. Well, then we can make a wee vote then. So we've got the Long Kiss Goodnight and then the Santa Claus. So 1 for the Long Kiss Goodnight and 2 fingers for the Santa Claus. I think I know how this is going to go. Okay, so we have 1, 2, 3. Oh, I kind of knew it was going to be a draw. I kind of knew that was going to be a draw. I don't
have we protocol in place for a draw?
I don't think I have protocol. We could flip a coin. Yes. Do we have a coin? I don't have a coin.
I've got a coin.
Okay. We will leave it up to fate. Is leaving it up to fate, though, really us making a decision?
That's a cop-out, isn't it?
It is a bit of a cop-out, yes.
That's a cop-out. We got to vote.
What's the
alternative?
We're all trusting the integrity of Joe here.
I don't have a trick coin. Are we actually going to flip a coin? Yeah.
Go for it. Yeah, sure.
Right,
We have to flip a coin.
Head, Santa Claus, tail.
Oh, I want heads. I haven't had a movie through yet,
right,
so I want
okay,
first
that's
choice.
Fair enough. Right, heads, Long Kiss Goodnight, tail, Santa Claus. Tails.
Oh! I actually feel bad. I actually feel sort of bad.
Fate has decided. It's the ugly hand of fate.
Fate has decided. And we are now going to discuss the Gremlins and Christmas for the Cranks. The Gremlins being Zara's choice, and I can already see the big smile on her face. I actually have to say thank you for reminding me of the Gremlins. I have not seen that movie in such a long time. And I sat and watched it the other night, and I'd sent another theme tune on the credits there to Zara when I'd finished it. And the theme tune, it's so catchy. So catchy. It's been in my head for days. I love it. So thank you very much, Sarah, for that. But do you want to take away then the Gremlins and tell me a little bit about that?
I will indeed. So Gremlins is a 1984 film directed by Joe Dante, and it's about Billy, and he gets a Christmas present from his father of a creature called a Mogwai. I think I'm pronouncing that right.
Yeah.
And he calls it Gizmo, and he is adorable. And he's given 3 rules by Mr. Wing, who sells him the little Mogwai. So don't get him wet, don't expose him to bright light, and don't feed him after midnight. So, of course, all of these things happen. And little Gizmo spawns these slightly less cute versions of himself. And they go on quite a terrifying rampage around Billy's town and cause
very gory, violent rampage. So much more so than I recall. Like, I don't remember it being as gory as that. Cool. Oh, then, sorry, go ahead, Connor.
I was going to jump on that, but maybe you want to lay out Christmas with the Cranks first, do you? Or should I jump in on Gremlins?
I'll throw in a Christmas with the Cranks here. So again, it's another Tim Allen movie. So the general synopsis is that with his daughter Blair away for Christmas, Luther, Tim Allen, and his wife Nora, played by Jamie Lee Curtis, decide to skip Christmas and go on a cruise. So it's based on the novel Skipping Christmas, and by doing this, they basically anger the traditions of their street and the rest of their community, and the community all come out. Dan Aykroyd's kind of the head of this neighborhood watch, and they start demanding that they start putting up their Christmas decorations. Tim Allen and Nora feel like they could save thousands of pounds by skipping on Christmas and taking themselves off on a big holiday cruise, which, I mean, it's not necessarily a bad thing. Like, it's your money, it's your life. If you want to go off on a holiday, by all means, go off on a holiday. So I kind of feel like the neighborhood were being dicks you know. But again, it's just it's a great movie. I love Dan Aykroyd when I see him. I don't see him in many movies these days. There's just it reminded me of whenever the neighbors come out of the house, and you have this classic scene of where Nora, she's in the home alone because Tim Allen's character is at work. So Nora's at home, and they come onto the yard, and they start screaming, "Free Frosty, free Frosty, free Frosty," because they want them to put Frosty up on the roof so all to see. And Nora decides to close the curtains and hide. And it just reminds me of like when the bin man or the window cleaners come out of the house. There's nothing more I hate than when someone comes up to your windows and starts kind of squeaky cleaning it, and you're sitting there just trying to do your thing. And so I know it's not necessarily a Christmassy thing, but I do love just that whole kind of playfulness of, hiding from the community. For me, it's just hiding from the window washers, which I just hate that.
I feel you on that one.
Yeah.
I feel you on that one. Like the embarrassment of being caught with a cup of tea.
It's a scary thing, I think, for kids. Not that it's a scary movie per se, but like, could you imagine actually skipping Christmas? Do you know, like if you said that to your children, you'd be terrified because they think they're not getting presents, they're not getting that kind of whole Christmas spirit and the experience of Santa, and wondering, is he coming down the chimney and writing those letters? So I kind of feel like I'm going to watch it because I'm just a big kid at heart. But kids these days, I think, can watch that and they can just enjoy the music and the themes of family and the Christmas spirit, and trying to, almost in the same way as I was saying earlier, I feel like I'm quite nostalgic, and I love being reminded of those kind of earlier childhood memories of Christmas. You've got the community trying to remind this husband and wife in this house that Christmas is important, not just for them, but for everybody. And I do love, that's one of the main things I love about Christmas, is it seems to bring out a nice kind of festive spirit and happiness and joy in everybody. Like, the nights are cooler and calmer. You've got Christmas trees and lights and music playing throughout all the stores. And I absolutely love that. And I think everybody generally loves that. So I love the theme of the community, just trying to remind these two people that Christmas is important for everybody, and it's just something I really enjoyed. That being said, it is a movie I love and watch every year, but I have to say that I think I've nearly been swayed by the Gremlins. I wasn't too sure if saying it was a Christmas movie. I thought, I don't know if I remember this being a Christmas movie, but it is set at Christmas. And they do play into the whole thing. Like, I absolutely love the little montage of the right. And you hear the door knock, and the woman comes and answers the door, and you got the little kind of gremlins doing their wee Christmas carol and singing on the front doorstep. Absolutely loved it. Yeah, and the wee theme tune. There's just so much fun to have. There's probably as much fun in this movie for a child as there is gore and violence. Like the moment at one point you have the gremlins have overrun the house. And the mum comes downstairs and she starts like knifing some of the gremlins on the counter, and then one of them's in the microwave and she shuts it and just turns it on. And I thought, if a kid sees that, I wonder, are your cats or hamsters going to be safe? Like I just, children are so imitatable. That being said, it doesn't necessarily say it's not a Christmas movie.
It's definitely not a Christmas movie for kids, I don't think, but definitely is a Christmas movie. I don't know
if you could get away with it today. And today's standards.
Well, even like there's one particular scene where I think it's Kate, you call the female character, and she relays the story of how she discovered that Father Christmas wasn't going to come to her anymore, and you don't want any child sitting down to listen to that. Like.
Yeah, I mean, I did note that myself, because I thought, a child watching that, hearing that their father died in the chimney is scary, but also then does it kind of raise the question? Does Santa Claus, will he get stuck in my chimney? Will he die, Mummy? And I kind of thought, what, your kid's asking you that question. I don't know if Zara has any kind of rebuttals, or she's just too much in that camp.
I have to agree. There are both scary visuals and scary things that are said. I have to say, though, I think the thing that I really liked about the film was the fact that Billy as a character was so sort of endearing and wholesome. I really just loved him as a character. And I love the fact that Kate was a bit of a badass, and she was sort of helpful and not kind of standing there being like, oh, I'll just, And then I love I love Randall's like invention storyline. So funny.
Brilliant.
And then the fact that in the end they are in a way helpful.
I called bullshit on the orange juicing machine because he stuck in one single orange and a fountain have just come out. And I thought, that's amazing. Usually you don't get anything out of a single orange. So I thought he's doing something right.
For sure.
But yes, the father's inventions were also very interesting. So yeah. And who doesn't love as a young child watching a movie that has all these fun and quirky inventions? You know, that whole kind of like, is it Q from James Bond type thing where here's your gadgets and we're going to use these to defeat the villain.
So if I can jump in on Gremlins, it's one of my childhood favorites as well. Like, so grew up watching it, and Zara's already hit on like a lot of the things that I love about it. Like, so I love Randall's inventions as well. I think it's brilliant. Gizmo's like one of the cutest characters anywhere in cinema.
Did they inspire Furbies? I didn't look into this, but I was just curious when I'd seen it.
I say a lot of soft, cuddly toys were inspired by Gizmo in the 80s.
Yeah. Put a beak on him and he's a Furby.
Well, yeah, all the puppets are great, and it's, you know, all the Gremlins are brilliant, as you say. There's some great scenes, like when they're all partying in the bar, and then they're all in the cinema singing along till Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs.
That scene had me hooked.
I think young. Sorry, I was
just going to say it's something that I think it's lost in movies these days, where everything kind of seems to be green screen and CGI, animated. So it was actually, I do love seeing old movies that have actual physical, tangible props.
Yeah, practical effects.
Yeah, I really love that, which is probably another reason why I still love the Muppets.
And I love, I think young Corey Feldman is brilliant in it as well. He's great. It's great to see him popping up in it. I love the Rock and Ricky radio show that sort of soundtracks it all the way through. And then you get to hear Rock and Ricky getting attacked live in the air. I thought it was a brilliant little touch. So yeah, it's a brilliant film, brilliant script, which is written by Chris Columbus, who actually wrote Christmas at the Cranks as well, wrote the screenplay.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And Home Alone.
And Home Alone.
Lots of films on this list. But the difference in quality of the screenplay between Gremlins and Christmas with the Cranks is staggering.
Oh, it's just a direct comparison. Maybe his career hasn't taken a turn for the worst.
There was two films on the list that I thought I hadn't seen, which is Christmas with the Cranks and Deck the Halls. After sitting down and watching both, I realised I had seen them both. And so Deck the Halls, I just forgot that I watched it. But Christmas with the Cranks, I think I actually purged it from my memory because I think it's legitimately the worst Christmas movie I've ever seen.
Don't get too excited, like Zara sitting laughing.
I didn't find like one likable character in the whole entire film. And I usually love Tim Allen, love Jamie Lee Curtis, both totally unlikable in the film. Dan Aykroyd,
Jamie Lee Curtis was unlikable.
Unlikable, totally unlikable.
Oh.
I literally found every character unlikable. I thought the townspeople were all complete assholes.
Well, they are. That's you're supposed to. Yes, you're supposed to hit
trying
them.
to make these people feel bad about this decision that they've made. But Tim and Jimmy are pretty much assholes as well. And the slapstick comedy didn't work at all for me. Like, I thought it was so fake. Like, there's a scene where she slides down the driveway or something on ice, slips on ice and slides down the driveway. And even the ice and the snow, there's like little random patches of ice and snow where they didn't have the budget to pull it off, or if it was the weather or what, but it's just really unconvincing.
That's what makes it a crap movie.
But no, but I'm just saying it's something that jumped out at me, there's a scene where Dan Aykroyd's running along the side of the Cure and he has his hands in the window and then his gloves come off. And they're sort of hanging there, and Jimmy Lee turns around, screams, terrified.
That is that almost like childhood humor that children will watch, and they will love that because they love those visual cues.
I don't know, just fell completely flat for me. And what was the other bit on it? Yeah, actually the scene you were talking about where they're kind of hiding from the carol singers. It's like they weren't just hiding; they were like creeping around the house and like running and like hiding around the corner. It's just really silly and really.
Is that something that you think that's lost on audiences today? Because you can have that exact same humor in something like Home Alone, with the villains and they're kind of sneaking and they're very, very animated.
I think I think it's the way it's, it's just delivered the way it's carried through. I just think
deliberately shite.
Well, no, I wouldn't say deliberately shite, but actually shit.
Yes. Well, okay.
I know. I literally, I didn't think it could get any worse until like the Marty character came into it. This random Marty guy who then at the end turns out to be Santa in a Volkswagen
selling umbrellas
for some reason. I don't know. Just no. Christmas with the Cranks didn't do it for me at all.
All right. Well, if everybody's ready to vote. Yeah, okay.
I can tell when
right, so then Gremlins, 1 finger, and Christmas with the Cranks, 2 fingers. So 1, 2, 3. Oh,
Hey,
unanimous. Unanimous. The Gremlins is one. Yes. I mean,
Yeah, unanimous.
I
Yeah.
didn't think I would be in the camp of Gremlins. But
I just have to say as well, actually, before we move on, Joe Dante, the director, made a couple of my favorite films, like 80s films. So he made The Burbs and Inner Space, which I don't know if any of you have seen them. If you haven't, check them out. And he made a TV series, 90s TV series called Erie, Indiana, with Omri Katz, who is the kid from Hocus Pocus. And it's a brilliant sort of mystery kids TV series. And again, I would highly recommend checking it out if you haven't seen it.
Okay, so then next up we have The Nightmare Before Christmas and Home Alone. Now I can't really recall who submitted what, so take it away, whoever owns these movies.
So The Nightmare Before Christmas, also a Tim Burton movie. There's a theme emerging here. 1983, stop motion, and it tells the story of Jack Skellington, who is one of the premier members of Halloween Town, and he's getting kind of tired of his role as the Pumpkin King, and he stumbles across a doorway leading to loads of different worlds, and he happens to fall into the Christmas one because it's just so nice and shiny, it draws him in. And then it goes into a whole thing where he tries to appropriate Christmas for himself, but because of his Halloween ideals, it all goes wrong. And by the end, I suppose they all just fall back into their roles, don't they? It's kind of a nihilistic way of thinking. But he goes back to Halloween Town. He finds the love of his holiday again, and all of the holidays are safe from Oogie Boogie, who's behind the scenes trying to kidnap Santa and
Well, I feel like there's a lot of
brutally.
characters and villains and heroes in this kind of story that kids can relate to even today, and they've got amazing music, and the visuals are something I think would be very. Like, I loved watching that as a child because I can't necessarily say when I was a kid it started making me think differently, but it definitely kind of subverts your typical expectations of a Christmas movie. I did look into a little bit of trivia for Nightmare Before Christmas, and they said that Tim Burton's inspiration actually came from after seeing the Halloween merch being taken down and replaced in stores with Christmas merchandise. So he saw that juxtaposition of ghouls and goblins and the Santa and the reindeer, and that kind of sparked his imagination. And I just thought that was really, really interesting. That it's just the power of the imagination, isn't it? That something so simple could kind of just dawn this piece of art.
Yeah. I think it's just a really fun idea, like all the holidays having their own worlds and operating there. And the animation is class. And again, Danny Elfman, you can always hear doing the score.
You just know a Danny Elfman movie. But even speaking about the animation, like that's a feat on its own, because it took 100 people 3 years to produce that. And I read that it's 1 second of film. So for every 1 second of film, you need to get 12 stop motion moves. So they obviously must have been filming it at 12 frames per second. So that's a hell of a lot of animation.
It's a lot of work
to get a feature length film.
It is, yeah. Yes, written by Tim Burton, but directed by Henry
director, but
Selick.
I do know that it wasn't.
I don't have it down either.
Directed by Tim Burton, but Disney were very, very against
it. I always thought it was Tim Burton directed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was Henry Selick, who then went on to do Coraline.
Actually, just another wee bit of trivia, which I found very interesting, just on the theme of movies all kind of intersecting. Kate O'Hara, who played Sally in Nightmare Before Christmas, also played the mum in Home Alone.
Right. And a lot of Tim Burton projects as well.
I found that interesting. Yes, so we have
she's a scene stealer extraordinaire. I think she steals the scene, whatever she's in. She's brilliant.
So then what about Home Alone?
So Home Alone, that's my choice. So all my other movies have fallen by the wayside, but I've saved the best for last. Maybe the definitive 90s Christmas movie, Home Alone. So Macaulay Culkin stars as Kevin McAllister, who is left home alone when his family go on holiday, and then he's left to protect his home whenever burglars try and rob the place, basically. So it's directed by Chris Columbus, keeps popping up. He's a big Christmas movie guy. Written by John Hughes, who also wrote National Lampoon's Christmas. So again, he's on our list. Did Miracle on 31st Street, Uncle Buck, a lot of big Christmas movies. He also directed Ferris Bueller's Day Off, Breakfast Club, Weird Science, all the big sort of teen movies of the 80s. So really high quality. Music by John Williams, who did Star Wars, Jaws, Superman, Indiana Jones.
Composer,
the maestro of cinematic scores. It's just a brilliant film. Like this is probably the film I would watch most. It's the one that every year Home Alone has to be watched.
It has those themes of like, so your mom and dad. I know they've left. I know they've kind of left the home. The whole family's went on holiday. He's left alone. But that kind of theme of you're home alone and you've got the whole house to yourself, and you go sneaking around your brother's room and your sister's room and see what kind of things they have.
Every kid's dream.
I think there's kind of like there's a fun playfulness in that kids would enjoy, but then there's also the fear as well that comes with being home alone as well. So there's kind of two sides to that coin, which I really enjoy. And then you've got the villains. You're again just very animated, and you've got these kind of really goofy set of traps that's set up around the house to try and capture them. You know, some of them are really playful, some of them are really terrifying. Even today, I watched a scene where the burglar's going in through the bottom basement, and he steps on the nail, and you just feel that. You absolutely feel it, you know. Or the tarantula is being put on one of the guys' chest, you know, hates spiders, and every time it's still this day gets me kind of wincing.
Yeah, odd comment, but the movie always makes me hungry, you know, because he keeps talking about like cheese pizza, you know, and I'm like, oh, I'd really love a cheese pizza right now, Kevin.
I'm the same.
But yeah, I literally thought I was Kevin McAllister whenever I was younger. I would like do the whole you shaving thing and put it on my face, and you know, we talk about scores in the Nightmare Before Christmas one. The score for this movie is unbelievable. It just every time I hear somewhere in my memory, it hits me right in the feels, and I'm like,
and even the scary moments as well, like when the neighbor, the snow shoveling neighbor, when he comes, you know, the way the score changes to, you know, a wee bit more scary, a wee bit more darker, or whenever he goes into the basement to the stove, you know what I mean, the evil stove in the corner. But like I was 8 years old. Yeah, I was 8 years old whenever it came out. Like, so yeah, I wanted to be Kevin McAllister, like every other kid, you know, set up the booby traps. On the burglars, like Joe Pesci and Daniel Stern, you link them to these roles now, but like you forget whenever it came out, Joe Pesci was known for like really serious, really terrifying roles, you know. So this was a massive departure for him.
I don't think he was too keen at the time playing the role.
Yeah, I think maybe a cash grab at the time. But
he gets pretty serious, like whenever they have Kevin like trapped. Yeah. Spoiler alert: they trap Kevin, and like, you know, he's talking about like biting his fingers off and stuff.
Yeah, it does get
movie got dark all of a sudden.
Yeah. What else? So yeah, the stunts, the booby traps, the stunts are brilliant in it. Again, it is another fake movie within a movie. So it's the gangster film Angels with Filthy Souls, which is just brilliant. The way Kevin sort of uses it against people to his advantage.
I don't know.
Controversial opinion. No, I don't know if it is controversial, but I prefer Home Alone 2 to the first Home Alone.
They're very close. They're very close, I have to say.
Yeah. I mean, the second one has got Tim Curry.
I know.
Don't forget that. It's Donald Trump.
Like for like a second. Yeah. I mean, that is like, just edit that part out.
Is Tim Curry dead? Said rest in peace. I know he's really ill.
Yeah. No?
I don't think he's died. No, I don't think he's died yet.
No, has he not?
No. He's really ill.
Are you sure? We're going to have to go.
I think so.
I thought he was dead. Somebody Google that. Yeah. I'm curious. I actually thought he had passed away.
But yeah, love Tim Curry.
Yes, he does. Yes. Oh, he's phenomenal singer as well. I love watching him in Muppets Treasure Island.
Yeah, it's okay.
He's still with us.
Is he?
Dr. Frankenfurter is still with us.
Okay, my bad. Fake news coming from here.
At the time of recording this podcast, Dr. Frankenfurter.
Yeah. Oh, I thought he passed away. I'm glad he's still with us. It's just, yes, I know he's kind of wheelchair bound. And he's very old now. So we don't.
This podcast may not age well.
Yes, it's very true. He has to get cancelled after this.
Right. Brilliant at comedy and brilliant at horror as well.
Yes.
So like in Stephen King's It, and I don't know if you've ever seen he played you know, the American crime series, what's it called? I'll slip my mind now. It's like with the behavioral analysis unit. But he plays like this really dark, like child murderer in it. It was maybe one of his last roles, you know, before he got really ill. But he's terrifying in it, you know.
Right.
Brilliant.
I was worried when they were coming out with a different, obviously, a reboot or a remake rather of the It franchise, simply because I'm getting really sick of seeing such iconic characters and such iconic actors in these roles that's just being whitewashed and replaced. You know, so I did love the new It franchise. I'm not gonna say I didn't, but it's something sad, because you're gonna have audiences, the younger generations, going, "Oh, I've seen It," but they really mean the 17, 18 version, whatever it was. And they're not going to go back as far as to the Tim
Something
Curry.
really special about the Tim Curry version, even though it's a little dated.
Mm-hmm.
It's a bit sort of melodramatic in places, and the effects don't really hold up. But it's the same as the
Grinch. Like they've remade the Grinch with Ed Helms in it, the animated movie, and I haven't seen it, but I think it's sad. I'm sure it's fine, but it's sad because you ask kids, have you seen the Grinch? They're going to be talking about the kind of more recent rendition of that, and I think, you should really watch, the original with Jim Carrey.
Jim Carrey.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, if we're all ready then to vote, so we're going to say Nightmare Before Christmas is 1 finger and Home Alone is 2. Okay. So 1, 2, 3.
Hey!
Oh, unanimously. Okay, Home Alone wins. So Joe, is that?
I originally picked Home Alone, but then
you're happy either way. You're happy either way.
Yeah.
And then we have Deck the Halls and, oddly enough, Lord of the Rings.
I'm not waiting to hear this.
I've been waiting forward to this since Joe submitted it. I don't understand why Lord of the Rings is a Christmas movie, but I can't wait to hear his explanation. So we'll start.
The brief was Christmas movies.
So we'll start with Zara's Deck the Halls then, if you want to kind of let us know what that's about.
Yeah. So Deck the Halls is it's from 2006, directed by John Whitesell. There's a lot of silliness. It basically portrays 2 competitive fathers in a very kind of American competitive way. And it's Danny DeVito and Matthew Broderick. And Danny DeVito starts out having all of these Christmas lights and all of these different things that he's doing. And then Matthew Broderick feels pressure to also keep adding more lights to his house. And then it just kind of descends into this really funny competitiveness between them, and it's about that, having the biggest and best to beat your neighbor kind of idea about Christmas, and it's just really silly.
Mm-hmm. I think Matthew Broderick apparently could be seen on set with his head in his hands saying, "I've hit rock bottom." That being said, I do love Deck the Halls with Matthew Broderick and Danny DeVito. I think it is very playful. It's probably there's just so much fun in it. You have this essentially again Griswold house, because Danny DeVito's just building his house. He's adding lights and lights and lights and all these decorations and ornaments. And I was constantly invested because I kept thinking, I want to see every day, like, what's the next stage? How, what is he doing? Every night is a different show. He's taking it to a new level. So I did love seeing that, as well as other moments kind of being sprinkled throughout. So you've got I did love the family photo moment. Where Steve's or Matthew Broderick, what's his character's name? Steve Finch. He's they're doing their family photo, and long story short, he ends up with horses. He ends up in a sled, yes, with horses with antlers attached to their head, and he ends up in a lake. Does he fall in the lake?
In a lake, yeah.
Yes, and then his family photo is him basically in a hospital bed, I believe, is it? With
the mask or the oxygen.
Yes, yes.
Thing in his nose. I just watched it.
Sorry, go ahead.
I just watched it last night, so I thought I hadn't seen it, but actually, as I started to watch it, memories came back, and I was really pleasantly surprised. So I wasn't really going in expecting much, but I thought it was really, really funny, particularly the first half of it. I thought it was really funny. I think Matthew Broderick and Danny DeVito, both great, but in particular, I think Danny DeVito's character is brilliant. Mm-hmm. It just has no kind of self-awareness, and as he says himself, everything's kind of over his head, and he doesn't get the nuisance or how much he's annoying his neighbours,
Who's this film marketed at? Is what I wonder. Like, who's the target audience?
I don't know. I saw it, actually. We put it on in QFT last year as part of the Lumi Young Programmers. So it was our Christmas event for I guess 16 to 26 is our demographic. So that's who we put it on for. And I had never seen it, so I first saw it at our event. But I don't know.
It's there's one scene in particular which is really cringy. That has not aged well. The song and dance routine with the 3 daughters.
The Who's Your Daddy moment. Yes. Who's Your Daddy? Really, could you imagine? I know your heart would sink. Yeah. Well, then what about Lord of the Rings? Joe, I want to hear why Lord of the Rings is a Christmas movie. I understand that it may be a Christmas movie to you, but I want to know how it is a Christmas movie.
It's okay, don't worry. I've got an argument. It's fine.
I'm sure you do.
You know?
I'm sure you do.
So Lord of the Rings, if you don't know what Lord of the Rings is, where you been? You know, that's a question I got for you. And to be clear, I'm not just talking about the first Lord of the Rings, I'm talking about the entire trilogy here. First released in 2001.
I was not going to sit and watch the entire trilogy.
No. 2001, 2002, 2003, all released around Christmas time, which is, whenever I first saw it, and that's kind of why I associate it with Christmas. Of course, tells the story of Frodo, who is charged with taking the One Ring, the evil ring, to Mordor to destroy it and destroy Sauron, the embodiment of evil. Now, as for why it's a Christmas movie, now I've already said when it came out around Christmas. A lot of people do remember that it's a perfect Christmas movie because Christmas is a time whenever you got nothing else to do. You're maybe trying to avoid some family members. So here's like a 9-hour epic to keep you busy. But also the theming. Like I like sort of the theming of movies, and this one of sort of good triumphing over evil is really like brilliant for me. That sort of idea of friendship and bonding with everybody that you're going on adventures with, and making a family out of those around you. Now, I've talked about music probably in like everything here. The music in Lord of the Rings by Howard Shore is just phenomenal. It just takes you places. But one of the main things I wanted to hit on was that sort of bittersweet feeling that the trilogy leaves you with. Now, Christmas, it's often portrayed as very sweet, very nice, blah, blah, blah. My favorite Christmas song is, what do you call it? Fairy Tale of New York. And it is probably one of the like saddest songs you could ever listen to if you actually listen to the lyrics. And I like the way that Lord of the Rings just sort of brings you up those big sort of moments, but then leaves you with that bittersweet existential crisis that you get, around Christmas time. We got to remember Christmas ain't happy for everybody else. Some people are very lonely at Christmas, and I think Lord of the Rings would be a great companion for them. You got all your friends, you got Frodo, you got Sam, you got Aragorn, everything like that. So, if you want to, like, I don't know, ask me questions, I've got points.
I feel you could say.
Oh, one more point, just before we move on. What do you call him? J.R. Tolkien did write the Silmarillion. It's all heavily based on Christian mythology, and Gandalf is basically Jesus. Christmas, Christ. So there you go.
A lot of the themes that
what's Christ got to do with Christmas?
That's very true.
That's another episode. Yeah, I kind of feel like a lot of the themes you're explaining, you could nearly pull out of any movie franchise. Go watch Star Wars because there's 9 movies and spin-off series.
That'll kill a day.
Yeah.
Not the sequel trilogy, no.
I've seen Lord of the Rings. I love Lord of the Rings. It is a good movie. Not a Christmas movie.
I agree. Great series of films, but not sold on the whole Christmas movie aspect.
Yeah, I would watch it at Christmas.
What about you, Zara? What camp are you? Do you have your foot in?
I'm being moved from my own choice here. I
Don't
like
be moved by Joe's charisma. That's not.
He delivered it so well. I do love Lord of the Rings, and I have to say I am a sucker for the theme of friendship. If there's anything about like a group
Also
of friends or people, is there?
They become friends.
Yes,
they become friends.
But yeah, well, do you know, I actually, one of the things I really love about Deck the Halls is I like how the wives bond while the husbands are engaged in such a fierce rivalry. I really like that aspect. But anyway, yeah, I love Lord of the Rings, but is it a Christmas? I don't know.
You got to feel it in your heart, Sarah.
I kind of do. But then I'm going against my own.
Do you feel Lord of the Rings really in your heart, Sarah? Is that what you're saying?
I think I do.
I mean, there's no debating that you could enjoy the movie. I just don't know if you could say
you could enjoy it on Christmas Day.
Yeah. Harry Potter would have a better place at Christmas for me than Lord of the Rings.
Well, Lord of the Rings does take place over the course of a year. Christmas probably happens in the franchise at some time
within the year. Yeah, that's true.
It does take place at Christmas.
But I think Deck the Halls is more fun, like family-friendly, Christmas spirit fun. You've got that rivalry. Again, you find it in lots of movies, be it like The Grinch or be it Home Alone and whatnot. But there's just so much to enjoy. You've got the, Matthew Broderick's firing the fireworks off the roof of his house over to Buddy Hall's house to kind of cause a ruckus there, and ends up sending his firework into his own house via the chimney. You've got the who's your daddy moment, and the kids are going to love seeing all the Christmas tree lights, and it is set in Christmas. You've got the snow, and
favorite scene from the whole movie, or the best joke from the movie, is where Danny DeVito's just starting his new job at the car lot, and they challenge him. The guys challenge him to sell a car, so he goes out and sells a car to the owner of the lot, and the owner walks in sort of all bemused, and he's like, "Yeah, I just bought one of my own cars.
Yeah.
And I paid full price."
I love that he uses.
That's a brilliant moment.
Yeah, I love that he uses the new job to kind of allegedly patch things up. Yeah, with Matthew Broderick's character, he's like, "Here's a free car," and then you find out that it's not actually free. You have to pay for it.
Discounted.
Yes.
You want to talk about Merry and Pippin? What? Legolas and Gimli? What?
Oh God!
Snow? Whenever they're trying to go over the pass of Moria? What?
I kind of want to
the shooting of the arrows.
Yes. I kind of want to vote for Lord of the Rings because I'm curious to see how far it can go. I'm not sure if it ruins the integrity of the episode. So I actually don't know. Could spice things up a little bit, but I don't know how you could take it any further than this round, to be totally honest. But we'll vote. So Deck the Halls is one finger, and Lord of the Rings is two fingers. I don't actually know at this moment in time what I'm going to vote for. I think I know what one is a Christmas movie. So voting for anything else is a lie. But I'm intrigued because you might have to really do your research to make it go another round. But we'll see. So Deck the Halls, one finger, Lord of the Rings, two fingers. 1, 2, 3. I nearly went for two.
Yeah.
I nearly went for two, and I didn't.
You know what? I didn't think I would win, but I got further than I thought I would with Lord of the Rings.
You did.
So,
you nearly convinced me. You nearly convinced me.
You made a good case.
You did. Yes. Okay. So here's for all the listeners out there. We're gonna do a big surprise, and the surprise is that we're actually gonna make this into a two-parter because we do not have the time to sit and make this and do everything within one episode. So we hope everybody's enjoyed listening, and we hope we've actually provided some insightful content, or hopefully it's just nice and easy on the ears and something fun to listen to during Christmas. And we'll start next week again. We'll kind of go through the rest of the list and see how far we get on. So thanks very much for listening.
Thank you. I'm bringing my one movie back and going all the way.
Yes, you do that.